For me, science diplomacy is being able to act as an ambassador for the advances in science in your country and exchange with other countries on the topic, learn from other countries, understand best practices, and spread this to create more collaborations and continue advancing in your respective fields.
Do you think that we can use innovation for diplomacy?
Definitely. I think innovation is a tool that can be applied to everything that we're doing. In particular, technological innovation, which is what I focus on, how you can use artificial intelligence, blockchain, data to solve different challenges.
Yeah. Have you participated in a project in which you can see these international collaborations through innovations? And can you give me an example and explain a bit?
Yeah, so I think all of our projects have this component. We're always, whatever we do, we're going to try to see what has already been done in the past across the world in different countries so that we're not repeating the same mistakes. So we're looking for lessons learned. And we also always look to get in touch with the people who have done it elsewhere. So we've worked a lot with the British Embassy in Mexico. The open banking topic, for instance, we worked very closely with experts from the UK, from the Open Data Institute, to understand what open banking means for the UK, what lessons learned they had, so that our effort in Mexico could build upon that and not replicate the same challenges that they had. And also understanding the focus in the UK allowed us to adapt the conversation to what's happening in Mexico. The same happened when we spoke with also Australia and Singapore about what they were doing in open banking. And this is a methodology, let's say, that we apply to all of our projects. So anything to do with artificial intelligence. Right now, we're creating a national AI strategy for Mexico, working with the entire ecosystem. It's a very different approach to what other countries are doing or have done, where the AI agenda came from the top down. We're doing it more of a bottom-up process. And for that, we're also learning about what other countries have been doing, what have their focuses been for their strategy, what would make sense for Mexico. I think international collaboration is key for any impact project.
And are there any challenges in how these collaborations work? And can you mention some?
Yes, definitely. I think one of the challenges before even arriving to collaboration is simply visibility. So for instance, Mexico is doing a lot with regards to artificial intelligence, especially AI for impact. So is Latin America. But these efforts aren't so visible outside of Latin America. Actually, they're not visible even within Latin America. And there's no report, for instance, that gathers all AI for impact initiatives in Latin America or in the world. There's none of that. So how are you supposed to learn from one another if that doesn't exist? So one of the things we're doing from C-Minds is creating this repository, mapping key actors in Latin America, mapping key AI for impact projects so that we can learn from each other. And so I think that would be the first challenge, visibility. And then once you do, find a project or a group that you want to get in touch with, also being able to understand how their experience can apply differently in your country is something to consider. I think a lot of times it's assumed that because it worked in one place, it will definitely work in another one. And that's completely wrong. You need to start working also with the ecosystem in your country to understand how it would adapt. So going back to the open banking example, while we did work with the UK to understand what happened here, it was also important for us to speak with the ecosystem in Mexico, the banks, the fintechs, all the financial service organizations, to understand how they viewed the challenge and how they viewed what had happened in the UK.
So can we use then innovation to tackle some social challenges, and how can we do that?
Definitely. I think that the key issue is really understanding that, so I'm going to focus again on tech innovation, is understanding that technology is a tool, and and having people understand that it's just another tool in the toolbox that you already have. It doesn't replace anything. It's not a solution, it's a tool. And communicating that is the most difficult part, but also the most important part. I got sidetracked. What was the question? Can you repeat the question?
Innovation as a tool for collaborations and how
and social impact. That was it. So just having people understand that it's a new tool to address the challenges that we've always had. I think that's really important. And when I say people, I'm also thinking about governments. Governments have a tendency to simply continue doing things the way they've been doing them because it works, or it's the way. And having this openness to innovation with technology, is something that's not so common and that we definitely want to grow. And simply having spaces like these, having spaces like the different events that are happening in Mexico, having space to speak directly with the government is super important, just to tell them about what's happening across the world, the pilot projects that we are also having with different governments in Mexico, and kind of changing this chip where they say, okay, well, all of these new technologies that we're hearing about, actually, they can apply to what we've been doing. And with artificial intelligence, the challenge, for instance, is the way the media portrays it. I mean, nobody knows what it is. If you read these articles, they're all worrying, but no one tells you that AI is just pattern detection. So I'm thinking about last week, an article came out in Mexico saying, again, that I don't know how many jobs are going to be taken away by robots. And what I wish is that it said in that article somewhere, it explained what AI is, that there was an explanation, there was an attempt to change and create more of an open culture towards innovation. And I think that's what's really lacking to be able to have a proper impact.
Yeah, you mentioned something about events, right? I guess referring to Shaping Horizons.
Mm-hmm.
So how Shaping Horizons then can contribute to this?
Definitely. I was just in a session right now, and the different participants are from all sectors. Some people work in government, some people work in big tech, some people work in startups. And I think it's super important to have these conversations with future leaders, and that these leaders are formed in a way where they have an open mind, and also that they're critical about what is happening. That when we talk about artificial intelligence, they realize that even though it represents limitless opportunities, these opportunities will only turn into actual impact and true benefits if we're careful, if we consider ethics, if we consider data privacy. And I was very surprised by an article that came out earlier this week, or at the end of last week, that said that only about less than half the people in the companies surveyed, that were in the developed world mainly, were concerned that their company that uses AI could have a negative impact. And I wondered how that could be. And obviously, if you assume that a negative impact through AI can only be achieved if your objective is to do something bad, then obviously you wouldn't believe that your company would want to do something bad. The challenge with AI is that there are unintended consequences because of bias in the data, because of a lack of diversity in the teams. And so for me, what that article showed more than anything is that there is a lack of awareness of the challenges posed by AI, by bias. And for me, that's one of the key things that we need to address there.
Yeah. So during this week, the teams are going to be working together, right? Mm-hmm. Some of them will be working with AI in something that we think is a innovation process, right? So how you see that, and probably if thinking of the process, which things you will tell probably the young leaders to consider when thinking about the process and AI in this, I mean, based on your experience, when thinking about AI and the process,
So
what to consider?
So also linking back with the previous question, I think this event is really important because it ensures that at least these future leaders are aware of those challenges, are aware that yes, AI is a new tool in the toolbox, but please have considerations for the ethical aspect, which according to this recent survey is not a common theme. It's not as common as it should be. I think 100% of employees should be concerned that something might go wrong. And what I would tell these future leaders is, would this be with regards to AI in specific?
In general, I mean, I'm focusing on AI because it's one of the themes, is your area of expertise, but it could be general or AI.
So I'd say with AI and new technologies, it's not about understanding the technology in itself. It's not about knowing the technical details of how it works. It's about understanding the impact that it can have, both positively and negatively, and doing everything you can to really help the benefits be achieved while mitigating the risks and make sure that these benefits are democratized. When we talk about AI, when we talk about tech, there's a tendency to this for the impact to really be felt by only a part of the population. How can you ensure it's felt by everyone? How can you ensure it's not just white men? You know, how can you ensure women are included? How can you ensure different groups are included in the conversation? And more than thinking about it yourself, I think probably that's a poor way of saying things. It's not about you thinking about it. It's about you talking with the people who would know. So going back here to the lack of diversity in teams, if a group of men is trying to address a woman's problem, that just wouldn't make sense, would it? You'd say, well, you definitely need women in the team to have their input. And the same when you are tackling different kind of social issues. Make sure that you have a diverse group, that you are talking with the people that you are trying to solve a problem for. That more than talking to them, include them in the solution. I think that's the importance of collaboration within a country, making sure that you're working with all the sectors to have different perspectives and to ensure a sustainable solution because it addressed all the possible challenges. And going back to the topic of international collaboration, maybe someone else is doing the same thing. Maybe you can bring forces together. Maybe someone somewhere else has better knowledge than you do. Learn from them. I think don't be afraid to reach out as well and to see who can help you strengthen your project.
Yeah. Last thing. So, any advice to the young leaders and the week ahead? The projects.
The week ahead. T for jet lag. Definitely. The projects. I think. Let me think about that so I can give something.
Is in relation of all the activities, the projects that they will be pitching, and how they engage, the ideas that they get.
So don't be afraid to ask everybody for their opinion. And when I say everybody, of course, I mean the different speakers, the staff, but also the people in other teams. So obviously I understand this is a competition, people are trying to win, but also work as a team. Global Shapers is a global community where the idea is supporting, at the end of the day, driving towards a better world. So I think that don't be afraid to ask people in other teams for feedback. I think that everyone there would be happy to support and help achieve this goal.